Shalom, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Eenie Frost, and we are going to make some wonderful things today. In fact, something that everybody loves, because all the desserts that we're making are going to be chocolate. You know, it's very nice to have some chocolate things that maybe you've made in advance and you have in the freezer in case you have unexpected company. And one thing marvelous about chocolate is it really freezes well. And even if you take it out, is there anyone who hasn't tried a wonderful chocolate bar right out of the freezer? I think we've all tried that. But it does freeze very well, and you can take it out quickly. In fact, that happened to me not too long ago. Jack had an aliyah. Let me explain. In the synagogue, the Torah, the most precious possession of the Jewish people, the Torah, the book of Moses, the 5 books of Moses that were given to the Jewish people by God through Moses in about 1250 BCE, before the Common Era, as the Jews were traveling in the desert. These 5 books are contained in scrolls, and they are kept in an ark in the synagogue in a very special place, and they are taken out and read only on certain days, on Monday, on Thursday, on Saturday, on the first day of the month, on a holiday, on specific occasions. Do you ever hear the expression, every Montag and Donnerstag? My daughter's always doing this every Montag and Donnerstag, or my son or my daughter's always washing her hair every Montag and Donnerstag. That's what it comes from. Monday and Thursday, that you read the Torah on Monday and Thursday, and that's where that expression really comes from. Well, before you read the Torah, it isn't like just going and taking it out and reading it. Not with the Jewish people. We stop and we thank God for this wonderful possession. It's like eating. We don't live to eat. We eat to live. And before we start to eat, we say a special bracha, thanking God that we have the bread and the fruit of the vine. And the same thing with the Torah. There will be specific people who are qualified who actually read from the Torah. But before we do that, different people are invited up, generally from the congregation or maybe a bar mitzvah parents or bat mitzvah's parents. And one day Jack was invited up, and this is what we call an aliyah. He read this special prayer before the Torah section was read, and then when the Torah section is read, then he says another prayer. Again, praising God and thanking God for these wonderful scriptures that have helped us survive all these thousands of years. And that is what is known as an aliyah. Afterwards, somebody came up and said, oh, Jack, Yasher Koach. Yasher Koach, that means very well done, very nice. Literally, that you should go from strength to strength. And Jack, was there a special occasion that you had this honor this morning? And Jack said, well, we were on a vacation recently. And you know, when you go on a vacation, you always feel that you went in health and safety and you had a good time, and we came back in safety, and we're very appreciative of that to God. So they said, well, where did you go? And we told them, and they said, well, they'd like to come over and see our pictures. So immediately I thought, oh, what if they come? What am I going to serve them? What do I have in the house? Quick, I have these wonderful chocolate things in the freezer, no problem. Come over, we'll show you the pictures, and we'll sit around, and we're going to make some wonderful chocolate toffee. And this is how we make it. First of all, and you can see that I started it, because you must stir this all the time. If the telephone rings, the doorbell rings, forget it. You must stay with us the entire time. In here I have a cup of sugar and a half a pound of butter and 3 tablespoons of water. Now boil that to what we call the hard crack stage, and if you have it in a heavy saucepan, that's about 300 on your candy thermometer. When it gets to that stage, and you must do this continuously, it will take about 15 to 18 minutes of continual stirring in order to get it at that special stage. Then pour it into a cookie sheet. And I would say not to use a Teflon cookie sheet for this particular stage. It really will not work out too well. Use your regular cookie sheet and grease it very well. In fact, I would not use the spray kind of a spray on here. I would really grease it with butter or with something else to be sure that it's really going to hold. Now this goes on here very quickly. So as soon as it's on, then we're going to add the good stuff. Take 6 candy bars. I find that this works out easily because they melt so fast. The small ones, I think they run about, well, they're always changing them, but at this point they run about 1.45 ounces. And just add this in, put them right on here, and you'll see after they're on here for just a short time, they will begin to melt. And when they melt, all you do is take a nice, something that's flat, a spatula, not your rubber one, because that's going to move. You want something that's flat, a spatula that has a flat bottom and is going to hold. And you see how quickly that melts down? Now just move this and you'll see it'll spread all the way across. You want to cover the toffee because that toffee is going to set very quickly and the chocolate will fit right into it. So just be sure that you cover the entire pan with your chocolate and it will come down very quickly. If this isn't enough chocolate, then you can add another bar. And I find that this is easier to use than the great big bars. The great big ones, by the time they melt down and you put them in, it doesn't really work as well as this one does. So when Dee Tarnoff, you know Dee who's been helping me, the two of us have been practicing this for a long time to see if we could really get it down to the right amount. And that little water in it is even going to help. I think when I gave you the recipe, be sure you add that little bit of water to it because that too is going to help the consistency. Now as soon as that chocolate melts, then take a cup of chopped pecans. And if you chop them in your food processor, be careful, girls, you can make mush out of it. You don't want this to be like breadcrumbs. You want this to be a real nice piece of toffee that will have a nice feeling that when you pick it up and crack it, it'll feel like toffee. So just put it in the food processor for just a few on and offs and watch it. Watch what you're doing because that goes very quickly. And again, I want to caution you, if you're using your food processor and the children are around, unplug it as soon as you finish using it. It really is, it's a wonderful appliance, but it is dangerous. So be sure that you do unplug it and watch it very carefully, that you never put your hand in it, because there have been some pretty bad accidents. Then spread it over. Now take this whole pan and put it in the refrigerator. Not immediately. I think there's just a little heat that has to come off of this first. Let it sit about 15 minutes. Then put it in the refrigerator and let it set overnight. And when you take it out, you'll see one little knife at the end here will pick up the whole piece and you'll be able to crack it because you don't want this to be in absolute squares. You want it to be more in chunks. And this is what it's going to look like. And I think this really, oh, this is delicious. There's nothing like a wonderful piece of toffee, one that's been just homemade and right out of the refrigerator. And it's good when it's cold. And if it's frozen, that's good too. Just take them up and you can break them in whatever size pieces you like. Here you can see what we did. Here, this one, it breaks very easily. And if you look at it from the side, now you can see the toffee at the bottom and the layer of chocolate and the nuts, which gives it a wonderful feeling. So this is how you make chocolate toffee, and don't hesitate if you want to melt this down or keep it in the refrigerator or keep it in the freezer. It freezes very, very well. And our guests especially really loved it. So I hope that you will try chocolate toffee. You know, if you want any of the recipes that we do on the show, just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to me, to Enie's Kitchen, and the address will be shown at the end of the show. Now we thought, what else can we make that would really be exciting that would go along with our chocolate toffee? And that isn't an easy thing to match up to. But Dee and I were looking at some wonderful recipes of truffles. And truffles, I've decided, are really kind of European, kind of French, because so many of the recipes that we looked at with the truffles, again, had so many different ways of doing it, and so many of them you had to put in the freezer or used things in it that perhaps were not kosher. And we tried all kinds of recipes until we came down to this one. And let me tell you, this is easy and delicious. Here's what you do. In a double boiler, in this case, boil the water underneath. And then into your double boiler, and I think that you can see it setting in here right now, we're going to add, let me get a spoon here and I can show you. I have put, and I think you can see 1 square of unsweetened chocolate, 7 squares, 7 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, and oh, if there was only smell-o-vision, you would really love this, because there's 4 tablespoons of bourbon. If you would prefer to use dark rum, that's fine, but I think the bourbon gives it a wonderful flavor. And 2 tablespoons of coffee. That's liquid coffee. So if you don't drink coffee, just make a little instant or boil up some water and add a little coffee to it, so that you have all of that. Put it in the top of your double boiler, put the top on it, turn off the heat, and you'll see within 15 minutes it will all melt. And this is a very nice consistency. You see how nice this looks right in here? Now we're going to add to this a little vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla to give this a nice flavor. And I've already turned off the heat so that it will hold, and it has a nice shiny. You see the shininess in it? All right, now to add into it, we're going to use unsalted butter. I think for this particular case where this is so rich, that is a good thing to use. And the butter will melt very quickly into the chocolate. So I have 1 stick, that's a half a cup, of unsalted butter, because we want the consistency to really be sweet. And the liqueur, too, gives this a flavor that is brought up into the truffle as you're going to make it. And now you're wondering, well, what are you going to put in it, Eenie, to really give it a little stuff? Is there any flour? No, there's nothing like that. But here we have 3/4 of a cup of ginger snaps. I made the crumbs right in the food processor. It's very easy. And the ginger snaps have a very nice flavor and a very nice taste to them. And you'll see that this gave it such an interesting, we couldn't believe it ourselves. When we first looked at the recipe, we thought, oh, let's forget that one, and we tried a few others. And then we came back to this one and found, you know, this is really wonderful. Now then, if you look at this, you can see that it's very soupy. And Dee and I thought, oh, this is really going to be the worst. What are we going to do with this? This is just absolutely all soup. Well, we took it out and put it in a bowl, pour it into a bowl, and put this in the refrigerator to chill for about 2 hours. And you can see how very soupy it is right now. But after 2 hours, if you believe it, and I'm telling you, it is absolutely the truth, when we came back to it, here is the consistency. That this is what happened. The liqueur worked on it, and it really firmed up, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now what we're going to do with it is take a mixture of a half a cup of cocoa and a 1/4 of a cup of powdered instant coffee, and mix that together here. Now, when you make truffles, you don't want them to be exactly the same shape. I think that most of the truffles that we see are kind of rock shaped maybe, or a little off-center shape. So you can make your own shapes. Take a little teaspoon, pick up a piece, and you'll see it's very pliable, and just turn it into whatever shape you would like, and dip it into this mixture, which is a very nice mixture, and take some little paper cups. These are the small size, and just set them right in, and you can even freeze them in the cups. You see, if you just put them in here, you'll see how easy they are to make. I think about a teaspoon is the right kind of a measurement because they're so rich. You really don't want this to be too large. If you want them to be round, you can, but I think that takes away from the idea of truffle, because in a truffle you expect this. And the first time we made them, I know Jack said, oh, I don't like that cocoa on the outside of it. I said, but Jack, when you're in Europe or any place you've ever tasted truffles, isn't that always the way they make them? This is just what they do. They always put them in cocoa. And I think that mixing them with a little coffee softens that bitterness, perhaps, of the cocoa, because we tried it both ways, And we found that this really was better. And it does bring up the flavor of the liqueur, which is wonderful. We happen to have used bourbon, but I think that any dark rum would also do the same thing. And just make as many as you like. Put them in a box if you want to freeze them. If you take them out of the freezer and eat them immediately, oh, they are really delicious because it has that wonderful liqueur flavor will really keep them going. So this one recipe that we have given you is going to make dozens and dozens of them. Although it's a very rich recipe, you'll see that you'll get enough out of them. Pack them in little boxes or little containers. Do you ever keep those containers that you get at the supermarket where they put the pastries in or the vegetables? Those are wonderful little containers, and they're marvelous for freezing. Just take those and wrap them up and put them in your freezer, and when you have company, that was what we did. We just took them right out. And I think you're really going to enjoy these because they are delicious. So this is how we're going to make chocolate truffles. And I hope you're really going to enjoy them because I think they are very special. Now we were thinking of what else could we make that we know that children will really like. And we started to think, what about some kind of a great big cookie? A big Gesundheit cookie. What's a Gesundheit cookie? A Gesundheit is something that's large and strong and good and feels good and has a nice flavor and a nice feeling. So we decided that we're going to name our cookies Gesundheit cookies. And here's how we're going to make them. Again, we looked at a few recipes, and I understand that you can make them with a cake mix, but that really isn't as much fun. These are really delicious. Now for this, I think you really need your mix master. Take the mix master out, and in here I have 1 cup of butter and 12 ounces of peanut butter. And I think it's better in this case to use the creamy peanut butter. We want this to really blend in together, and so it will be a better thing if we really do use. You see how nice it blends in with the butter and the peanut butter? Now we're going to use 2 kinds of sugars in this, and that's what gives it a very good flavor. First, 1 cup of regular granulated sugar, and then we have 1 really full cup. And you know, whenever I say brown sugar, I'm always saying fully packed, because you know what it is when you take it out of your box. It's very soft. Fully packed, and just be sure that it's really lumped in good. And this is a very nice brown sugar. It really comes in very nicely. Blend that through. And then to this mixture, we're going to add 3 eggs. Now when we add our eggs, you know, we add 1 egg at a time. And we always check them carefully, because in kosher cooking, we always want to be sure that the egg is acceptable. We check it first to see that there isn't any blood, because if there's any blood in it, that would show that there was some sign of life, and that would not be acceptable according to the laws of kashrut. If you ever have any question about any of the ingredients that you're making or you're using, don't hesitate. In your city, there's always a rabbinical council or your rabbi or the synagogue or somebody you can talk to, that you can see what ingredients you can use, what you shouldn't use, because you don't really want to get things too mixed up, especially if you're having company and you want to be sure that everything is proper for the people who are going to be coming over. So that's just because an ingredient has a K on it does not mean that it is kosher. There are many companies in the country who are using a K, and that is not accepted as kosher. They are just saying it in general, but there are many of those products that are kosher. So it's always best to check if you have any question about it before you become confused. In the state of Illinois, the legislators now are passing a bill where they're going to really bear down on them and make them follow the rules that everything that does have a U or a K is acceptable according to the laws of kashrut. Now these eggs are giving it a very nice feeling. You can see how the consistency is coming. I just had an extra egg in case. Always take an extra egg just in case. Now the next thing we're going to add to it, this is interesting. This is what gives it the flavor. You see, we have no flour in here at all. This is a teaspoon and a half of corn syrup. And that is going to really bind this together. And then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And that's going to give it a good flavor. You know, if you only have a tablespoon measure, 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon, if you're ever in question about that. And also we are adding to this 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Baking soda, not baking powder. I've had some people call me up on some recipes and they wonder where they went wrong. There's a difference, cooks, between baking soda and baking powder. Now in here we have 4.5 cups of oatmeal. But this is the non-instant. It's sometimes called old-fashioned, but the non-instant oatmeal. And add this very gradually. I was so afraid of this in the beginning. I said, oh my goodness, this will never take all of this oatmeal. What's going to happen? This is going to be the world's worst batter. Dee kept saying, no, let's give it a try and see how much we can get in here. And you'll see that just add it carefully, add it slowly, and it will take the entire 4.5 cups of this oatmeal. And the wonderful part about this is that it kind of shows up. In our Gesundheit cookies, you're going to see all this white oatmeal really looking wonderful. And now this is getting more interesting. This batter is really coming down to, oh my goodness, let's just pull it away from the sides here so it doesn't flop all over the place. This batter, oh, does this smell good? Now we're going to add to this 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. What could be bad about that? And also here I have 1/2 cup of chocolate pieces. These are chocolate colored candy pieces. And you can use any kind that you like. These have a pretty color to them and I think they're really going to give it a nice flavor. Can you hear them flopping in there? All right, now take your batter. And this batter is a little bit heavy, so you might have to, again, chill this for a couple of hours just so that it's ready to put into your cookie sheet when you make them. This is the fun part of when we're going to make our cookies right now. Now we have some dough that we've had chilling for 2 hours, and you'll see how nice it is. It really comes together. It's like it's glued together. This cookie sheet is not greased. It is not necessary to grease it because this dough is just wonderful and does not need it. Now, how are we going to make these cookies large enough so that they'll really look like Gesundheit cookies? We're going to use an ice cream scoop, and I think it's a great idea. In fact, Dee was saying that once she made this a double or quadruple recipe, and the best way and the only way to do it is with an ice cream scoop. So here we take an ice cream scoop, put it down, and then flatten them so that they really, I think they look a little bit like latkes. What do you think? And if you think there aren't enough chocolate pieces showing up at the top, then just add a few more in there. And you'll see how really nice they're going to look. Now, I would say about 6 on each cookie sheet would be about all you can get. And just press them in, get the coloring going on them so that you have the different colors you want them to show up. And if you don't have enough, then you can always take a few extra pieces and put them in. So here we have 2, and this is holding together so well that I don't think you're going to have any trouble. Just push it into your ice cream scoop, flatten them down, and see that you have the colors on it that you want to use. Don't these look great? Now I hope that you've had your oven preheating, and if the children are coming in, this is great for them. They can help you with this. This is what you want the children or the grandchildren coming to visit. Tell them, come on kids, into the kitchen. We're going to make some Gesundheit cookies. In the meantime, when you're not listening, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jewish traditions. So that won't hurt either. Now here, this one doesn't have any pieces at the top at all, so I think we'll just take a few from the other side and put them in. Put this in a 350 oven for 10 minutes. And when they come out, They are going to look just like this. And you tell me if these aren't absolutely delicious looking. And they'll come right off the pan with a wonderful color, and I think they are absolutely gorgeous, and they are so delicious. I wish you were here to taste them. Now we thought, I spoke to some people at a party and said, what's Jewish about chocolate? And they all came up with the same thing. The only thing they could really think about was chocolate fast. Have you ever gone to a delicatessen and seen chocolate fast? Our people who came from Europe, from all over the world, and came to America and stood on Ellis Island and looked at the lady with the lamp and said, here we come to the Golden Medina, where we are going to build and bring our culture and bring our wonderful feelings and flavors and build to make this country strong and raise our children to give them educations and let them be good citizens of this country. These are the wonderful things that our ancestors have done. And is there any little city in this country, no matter how small or how large, that doesn't have that special delicatessen where you walk in and say, I'll have a corned beef and a chocolate fast. So the best thing to do is take a little pitcher, if you want the people to make them themselves, pour in the chocolate syrup and seltzer water. I would tell you this one thing. If you're watching salt, there is only one difference between seltzer water and club soda, generally speaking. Seltzer water does not have any salt, but club soda does. However, they're both very low in calories. It's just that there is a salt content in the other. Fill them up and stir it up, and I don't think there's anything that is ever going to equal the good flavor of a chocolate phosphate. And I hope that you'll all try one, because it really is special, and it has a special story and a special flavor. And everybody has a story of their aunts or their uncles or their families who have lived and come down to feel there's nothing like going to a delicatessen and ordering that special treat. And I hope that you will too. And so today, I hope that you will enjoy and remember how we made our wonderful chocolate. Oh, this is so good. Look at this toffee. And it stays so nice and brittle. That's the way you want it to stay. So always keep it packed in the refrigerator. And over here, we have our pretty truffles. We have truffles, our chocolate toffee, and here are our Gesundheit cookies. And I hope that all of you will enjoy these and make these, because it certainly is fun. It's an easy thing to do, and it adds so much to making a fun evening or a fun afternoon when you have the family for dinner or have the children over to visit. This is a wonderful thing to do in advance. I hope that all of you will enjoy. Oh my goodness, you have to watch this because it really goes down. And you know how our people are. They have to have a full glass. It's like giving somebody a half a cup of coffee. You must have a full glass. And I know that you're going to enjoy doing this too, because this is the world of our flavors. Truly, the world of our flavors, of the things that we do and we make and we believe in. And what better way is there in the kitchen than tell of the traditions of our people and our background? Because this is what we want our children to learn and to understand, the morality that we feel is correct. And there's no way to do it better than when you're talking chocolate, because all of us, I think, are chocoholics. I hope that you will make these specialties that we prepared today, and have a good week, and we look forward to seeing you the next time on Enie's Kitchen.
Ist gefahren am